you cry no more.
Hi, Wasteland TV. We are here with
Ryan T. Husk.
for the third time.
Third time's a charm. I'll try to make up for the first two.
Oh, the first two were great.
Thanks.
So, you were talking about that you did a tribute to Richard Hatch. How did that go?
Yeah, well, Richard Hatch was loved by many, obviously. And
He was Captain Apollo. He was the Tom Zurich in the other show, the guy that kept screwing over to Galactica.
He's a legend.
How
and
can you go from hero of one show and heel to the other show?
Awesome. And
Only
you know,
Hulk Hogan could do that.
That's right. Well, Hulk Hogan's a master at turning heel too, even though they tried to prevent him from doing it for a long time too. But Richard could do just about anything, and that's why he was so highly sought after as an actor. And as a producer and an actor myself, you know, I worked with him on a few projects. You know, I cast him and stuff. There are just a few people that you're just like, oh, he would be perfect for this role. He would be perfect for this role. Richard Hatch is one of those people that's perfect for a ton of roles.
He left a void in the sci-fi universe of actors.
Yeah, he did.
Because we've lost a lot of sci-fi, as a fan of sci-fi, a lot of familiar faces.
We sure did. And Richard Hatch was not only a familiar face in the sci-fi community, but also in the convention community.
And the writing community for a while.
Yeah, and so for those of you that, you know, would go to conventions and, you know, you would almost always see Richard Hatch there with a smile or doing some thumb wrestling or something like that.
Also, too, he was the guy that actually promoted Battlestar Galactica to get it back on the air for the most part. It was his footwork that kept Galactica alive for years and years.
That's right. He tried to do kind of like his own spin-off thing initially.
I saw his little mini movie.
So cool. You're right. I mean, he
and it was
spearheaded
really
that.
well done. Even though he didn't have Starbuck with it, he still had his character and recast it with some other well-known actors actually, and it was very well done.
Yeah, I did see that that trailer, that sizzle reel, which looked really cool.
Yeah, they call it a trailer, and some people call it a movie, a little mini movie.
Mini movie.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
So, the thing with Richard is that, I mean, I also executive produced his last project that he worked on, which was which was Blade of Honor. So check out Blade of Honor. It'll be coming out in about a month or two, and it's Richard Hatch's absolute final performance. And that's
Did you dedicate it to him?
We're dedicating a lot of stuff to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I know that a lot of times the last performance, a lot of movies will do a dedication at the beginning or end.
Yeah, and if you look up Blade of Honor, you can find it on social media or online on the website. You'll see a lot of the footage that we're using already. We're already releasing some of the things like, you know, like on Star Trek, they do. We're talking serious stuff, Rico. I'm very upset. This is my upset face.
Oh, there's his character face.
You look hot all of a sudden. Oh, yeah, it's back to Rico. So, you know how like on Star Trek they have like Captain's Log and they talk to the computer? So on Blade of Honor, we do that as well. It's like a sci-fi thing. And so we're releasing some of his, you know, logs, you know, video logs that he's doing as Admiral DeCarrick. And
so was this supposed to be a pilot for a show?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's like it leaves a big void in the show then.
It does.
It's kind of sad.
Because he was the Admiral. He was our Admiral, and he was one of the two people that had the most lines in the show. And, you know, I do think it's fitting, though, to have him kind of send off a new show in the pilot, and then from there we're going to go on. We're going to have to go on without him, and he really.
Are you going to recast him, or
no,
just put him lost in political, like the Star Trek did? You know, you'd have one appear, Admiral appear, and then say, just speak of him in background.
Sure. And we have a lot of choices there, but I think what he did was enough to send us off. So we're not. It's not so much that he's leaving a void; it's that he just kind of gave us a send off. You know, he said he really, really wanted to be in the show, and he was sick on set. He wouldn't tell us why. He just said it was just a little stomach bug because he knew that if he told us why, we'd say, hey, dude, go home, get better, because this was just weeks before. And he didn't tell us because He honored his commitments because he loved us like a family.
It's kind of like Freddie Mercury.
He's a
When
great guy.
I saw a documentary about him, he was working up until the day he died, getting as much music to Queen out as possible.
That's right.
Because he loved the music more than.
I remember seeing that too. Yeah.
And you got to respect people that do that love their craft so much that they'll leave a legacy behind after they're done.
Yeah, and on top of that, the sci-fi community, it's a tightly knit bunch, and so we're all friends. We all feel like family. And Richard Hatch obviously felt like family to us because I've worked with him a bunch of times. Our director had worked with him in the past as well. A few of the actors had, and so.
So which actors did you have on the show that worked with Richard Hatch? If you don't mind me asking.
Tim Russ from Star Trek Voyager. By the way, that's another one of those guys where he can fit almost any role. You're always like,
player.
Tim Russ would be perfect for this. Tim Russ,
He
Those
was a
two.
great utility player because he started as a utility player.
That's right, on Next Generation.
He was a Klingon. He was a back crew officer.
And
he was a terrorist.
He was in Starship Mine, that's right, as a terrorist. But so we also have James Kyson from Heroes, and Aaron Eisenberg, who played Nog on Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Really a pretty full cast of sci-fi people,
Any other actors from more of the lesser-known sci-fis or obscure sci-fis for today's standards?
Yeah, Brandon Stacy, Rivka Ravenwood from Star Trek New Voyages, if you know about New Voyages. Let me think. Well, me. If you like sci-fi, I'm all over that. I'm in that. I know I'm forgetting some people, but it's a ton. There's like 15 of us. It's a huge cast. It's amazing. Lots of awesome special effects as well.
Cool. So, any last words you'd like to say about Richard Hatch before we sign off on this interview?
Yeah. The people that respected him the most were the people that actually knew him, because they're the ones that realized what a great man he was. And I know, people say that all the time. They say, oh, he was an even better man than he was an actor, or whatever they say. But in this case, I was a fan of Richard, the person, far more than as an actor. As an actor, he was great. He was amazing, he was awesome. But, there are a million great actors. He was an incredible person.
There's always a difference between working with him and you see the one side of the fence, and most of us only see the side of the fence of Captain Apollo, the soap opera actor, the villain from Streets of San Francisco. He was in one episode of that.
That's good enough.
Tom Zarek. We know him as that character, and the energy he puts into it makes us remember some of these characters, or remember the roles where he was on the streets of San Francisco. He was villain so-and-so, but we know Richard Hatch was a part of that product.
I always wanted to see him as a buddy cop with him and Tim Russ.
That would have been pretty good.
Like a Chips type show with Richard Hatch and Tim Russ. We actually almost did that in a movie called The Dark Zone, which is still picking up funding. We had Richard Hatch and Tim Russ cast as like these detective guys, these agents. That would have been awesome. It's an action movie.
Did you get like any demo footage of the two of them together?
Not for that project. No.
Oh, that would have been nice to see what could have been.
And how cool is the premise? It's basically Die Hard in a cave. And rather than a big building, it's a cave. It's just really cool, really great idea and concept. So I'm definitely on board with that.
Well, thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks very much for the interview.
Yes.
Thank you guys.